Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Bethel Evangelical Free Church Hanley. I'm Pastor Charmley, and this is the church, another video in the series on Derbyshire churches, and this is the church of Great Longstone. It's great, it's long, and it's made of stone. It's 14th century, basically. It's a big 14th century church. It's like most of these old Derbyshire parishes, it had an enormous parish. People came from villages and townships scattered around the Dale to this central place. And of course it's here in 1844 where the advent of a more Anglo-Catholic vicar leads to a split that leads to the folk of Little Longstone all going off and starting their own little congregational chapel, which we looked at in the previous video, hopefully when this one comes out. Now this is, again, we are Remembrance Tide, and so you may see some Remembrance Sunday features here, even though this is going to be coming out quite some time afterwards. But this is a big medieval church that has been largely worked over by the Victorians. And as we look around, we'll see the differences between the Victorian idea of a medieval church and the actuality, the realities of a medieval church. So let's have a look around and explore this great long stone church together, pun intended, and I apologise for the puns. I shall try to stop. I shall try to make sure that's the last great long stone pun in this video. So let's have a look around. So first of all, we start out with the camera where we were when I was doing my two-camera introduction, and you can see here you've got a big chancel arch, which does look suspiciously Victorian. You've got one of those stone pulpits the Victorians loved. In this case, it is adorned with, part of it is made of alabaster. You've got a nice eagle lectern, again, very Victorian. No chancel screen, you have just got that little low, almost vestigial screen. So we'll start here, we'll start with the font. The font, again, is Victorian. A nice font, there we are, that's the cover. You can see behind it the tower and the ringing chamber, and you've got here, it's carved, you've got the baptism of Christ there, quite late Victorian by the look of it, if not early 20th century. I'm not very keen on the design, but there we are. Types of baptism: Noah and the Ark. Baptism, the Ark is a type of baptism, and there we are. Look all the way east again, you've got your Victorian pews. Those things on the side are not for lifting the pews, they are umbrella holders. Very important here. You've got here at the, quite sure what we've got at the west end here, but oh no, of course it's the crossing of the Red Sea, that. And finally, baptism of the Ethiopian Eunuch. And here they've taken the plaster off the wall in the north aisle, but not the south. We'll process slowly up the north aisle, having a look at some of this. Here we have, Lord, now lettest thou thy servant depart in peace, the presentation of Christ in the temple. There are only small aisles here. This isn't a whacking great church with big aisles. This is small aisles. They're practically just for walking along here. We've got, that would be St. Giles with his stag. You can tell because of the stag. You've got memorials. This is a yes. Let no proud stone with sculptured virtues rise to mark the spot wherein a sinner lies. But if some boast must mark a sinner's grave, boast of his love who died lost man to save. This is a reminder of that evangelical tradition that leads to the split in the church when they get the Anglo-Catholic chap. And there's St. Peter, of course it's the Anglo-Catholics who put in these winners, and St. Paul. Radiator at the end here, very useful. And of course the piano and the font, also the pulpit. It's almost as gaudy enough to be a Victorian font, but it is just a gaudy pulpit. Eagle lectern. Now here we have a chapel at the east end of the aisle. You'll notice these big windows, flat-headed. We'll see more as we go around, but you've got a private chapel. Then we go into the chancel. Again, very often the lights for the chancel are in the vestry, and I can't get into the vestry because it's locked. So we'll just have to look at it in the gloom. Organ pipes. There's the organ console. pedal board. I'm not going to open it up to see where it was made. Pre-Raphaelite east window, very Victorian or early 20th century even. And we've got again more pre-Raphaelite here. We've got the sacrifice of Isaac. By faith we are saved. There is a certain, shall we say, polemical point here. And then the well is deep, Christ and the woman of Samaria. Piscina, the sedilia, has been given a nice, comfortable wooden seat, which is totally not medieval. And there we are, looking all the way west. You've got this nice, it's very nice ceiling actually. 15th or maybe even early 16th century roof. Very much this clerestory and fairly flat ceiling, and again inside the pulpit. You've got your hatchments there, they're funerary hatchments, and they would be displayed at the funeral of someone from these big families to whom they belong. In fact, it's all the same family. And again, we have here memorials from the 18th century, and along here. Now this, again, you've got your side chapel here. Although there's a door here, I suspect it's not used, and so I won't. This is the Lady Chapel now. I expect you've got these quite narrow columns here, so we process all the way back to the back of the church again. What we've got here are these are things you often find in an old church. You'll find these benefaction boards. So we go past the let the little children come unto me and do not forbid them. And there they are, little children being brought to Christ, all looking rather surprisingly Anglo-Saxon for Jewish children in the first century, but there we are. These are benefaction boards. These are the charities for the poor, and these charities, they would distribute funds, or they would distribute bread or food, and before the welfare state, this is what the poor depended upon, and the rural poor could be quite well provided for by them. Here we have, looking up the south aisle, and again you've got the Lady Chapel at the end. This is the screen, because the screens are to do with the family. You've got your family arms there. Now this looks to me to be 17th century. This is post-Reformation, probably using bits of pre-Reformation screen. And here we have great women of the Bible: Naomi, Ruth, Dorcas, and Lydia. Naomi looking suitably depressed and careworn, and Ruth looking suitably young and attractive for Boaz. I'm not sure Dorcas would have been quite that young, and Lydia, well, she is depicted as a widow, and that probably is accurate, but I'm not sure Dorcas would have been quite that young and attractive. But there we are. That's my opinion. The Lady Chapel was, here we are, and we've got your Holman Hunt Light of the World, and we've got the Annunciation, Hail thou that art highly favoured. This was the Hassop pew because it belonged to the Eyre family of Hassop Hall. Now, the Eyre family were recusants. They were Roman Catholics who didn't conform at the Reformation. So they used it, but really their main worship was in a chapel in the hall, and then when the chapel was closed down, or then when it rather became possible to do so, they built a massive great Roman Catholic church. You can still see it there today, St Michael and St Raphael. But this chapel, in 1953, it's furnished to commemorate the coronation of our present Queen. There we are, Mary Eyre, daughter of Francis Eyre, Esquire. I'm not sure what that the eye up there is. It may well be a. And then you've got your Ouroboros serpent. It's a little bit weird, all that, but there we are. And then more heirs of Hassop, and the Hassop is very much this Roman Catholic centre around here. And there we have an old brass. It's not easy to see here, so we can have a look at the rubbing below, which shows Roland, heir of Hassop, and Gertrude, his wife, one of 3 daughters, and heirs of Humphrey Stafford of Eyre. Of Eam rather, Esquire. So this is you see 16th century, and there they have the tetragrammaton above. It's like a Protestant thing, so at some point they were Protestant, but certainly they became very much a Roman Catholic family. and that's why Hassop has the local Roman Catholic Church in it. Looking through here, and you can see that it would have been used as a family pew, and the family would have been quite secure in here when it was their pew. So that's the inside, really, of the church here at Great Longstone. And it is, as I said, great and long. So we'll have a look outside. I'll put some money in the box to pay for the lighting, and we'll go outside and have a look around while yet it is light. Well, here we are outside Great Longstone Church. Oops. Let's try that again. That was the local dog walkers coming through the churchyard, which of course is a nice place to walk your dogs. So here we are outside at Great Longstone Church, and again you see that this is indeed great and long. It's a fascinating building. It's very typical of this sort of late 14th, early 15th century era when it's done, just on the cusp of the Reformation almost. So we'll have a look around the outside, and I'll point out salient features as I normally do in these videos. Well, first of all, you'll notice the very large porch. Church porches in the Middle Ages were much more important than they are today, because the first part of the marriage service would be held there, and certain other services would take place within the church porch. So the church porch matters in a way it doesn't today. Today it's just a place to keep the rain off. But a big church like this, big church porch, we've got here the Churchyard Cross. In the Middle Ages you wouldn't have all these gravestones. You'd have one cross that commemorated everybody. But also the cross could be a place for preaching or for making announcements. So, and this is the actual medieval cross. The top is Victorian, and part of this is a restoration that you get when you have this high church rector at in the 19th century, 1840s, who leads to this. And we've got these rather nice table tombs at the end. You see this one would have been boxed in, and good collection there. And very 18th century, the table tomb. It's something that is a way of marking the grave. The other thing, of course, it means is if you're someone important, you have this whacking great lump of stone on top of your grave, and nobody can get in and pinch your body. And body snatching happened in the 18th century. It was a problem because doctors studying anatomy wanted specimens, and you could only actually get basically executed criminals. There weren't enough, so people would steal bodies. That was illegal, and you could get in a lot of trouble for doing that. I think you could even, in fact, find yourself being the next anatomy specimen because you could be executed for it. That is the correct time on the tower. You see the tower is quite narrow and slender, which on this great big long church is quite impressive. Oh good, he can get past. Just making sure that someone can get past my car by the gate there. Yes, he can. That's good. So it's quite a striking tower. The top part looks to be a bit later than the rest, but I could be wrong. And below you've got a modern vestry, stroke toilets and everything, which has been done in a very appropriate manner, fitting with the rest of the structure. We haven't got this kind of hideous box thing. Vestry, we've got the vestry there, that's going to be toilets, kitchen, that kind of thing, modern conveniences. Back in the day they didn't worry about these things because you didn't have running water at home either. That's another matter. The tower, yes, it is getting on towards 4, which at this time of year means it's going to be getting dark fairly soon. But we carry on past the building here. There's your modern toilets, kitchen block, which is, I think, very important now. Now, this is part of it is that what you're doing things in church that you weren't doing before, but also, as I say, people need to use the conveniences. But it's a very, you wouldn't know, would you, really, that this is modern? You'd think, oh, this is a later extension. You just got to see how crisp the stonework is. There you go. Yep, this is a modern little meeting hall, creche, Sunday school, and everything else that you'd need. And can we get around the back here? Yeah, we can just about. Famous last words, as they say. And as we squeeze our way to the end here, we find ourselves back in the churchyard. And back, the church is at the back of the village. There's the main street and all of these lovely stone houses. It is a magnificent building, and there we are. There's the lantern at the church porch welcoming visitors. It is motion sensitive, so it's not that I've left it turned on. And there's an internal door from 1967. This is St Giles, hence St Giles on the inside. I should have said that earlier. This is St Giles's church, the Church of St Giles. So we'll process through the graveyard towards the Lich Gate, which is outside which, or near which, I'm parked, and I'll say a few closing words to camera. So there we have it, St Giles, Great Longstone, with that rather interesting tower. Yes, it is. The top bit is later, which is why it looks a bit odd with those windows where they are. It's always a bit odd with windows where they are. It's a marvellous example of a medieval parish church, and you have this 18th century, late 18th, early 19th century evangelical incumbency here, which is then replaced 1840s with the influence of the Oxford movement, and it's very much, this is what happens with the C of E at the time, that the Oxford movement becomes the big thing. And there are even places like this with evangelicalism. One of the reasons you've got evangelicalism here is, of course, you've got the heirs at Hassop, the Roman Catholics, and so it's, well, you've got the Roman Catholics, and so you've got the evangelicals, and they're at each other a little bit in the village. There's a certain amount of, well, we're not them, and then you get the new chap in the 1840s of, oh, the vicar's a papist. Well, that's what the people thought, and hence you get this problem that leads to the new church being founded. So there we are. It's one of the bigger churches out here in the Peak District, up in this part of the world, and yeah, so Great Longstone, St Giles. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I've certainly enjoyed making it and wandering around this lovely church. I haven't been here for a few years, like a lot of things with the COVID, but all these places are open again now. Go out, visit, explore, enjoy, and here's one of the things about these videos, it's a suggestion about some places that I enjoy, but also what have you got in your neighbourhood, what interesting churches are there near you. Well, I hope you enjoy these videos. I enjoy making them, and God bless you, and hope again that there'll be another one and we can carry on looking at these lovely churches. I suspect this is going to be the last one today. It might not be, but yeah, goodbye, and God bless you and keep you. Thank you.